Seoul's most feared mafia boss hadn't felt anything in 8 months until an endowed African maid was accidentally locked in his panic room with him. 3 hours later, something awakened, but only with her. Now he's obsessed, she's shaken, and his jealous fiancé has just uncovered his secret. This was how it all started. If you want to see how this impossible love story unfolds, hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The titanium doors sealed with a pneumatic hiss that sounded like a death sentence. Mabel's scream tore through the reinforced walls, raw and primal. Her hand slammed against the metal again and again until her palms burned. The windowless space pressed in from all sides, 8 feet by 10 feet of suffocating gray that might as well have been a coffin. No, no, no. Her voice climbed higher, thinner. The air felt too thick. Her lungs couldn't expand. Spots danced across her vision. 3 weeks in Seoul, 3 weeks of being invisible, scrubbing floors in a penthouse that cost more than she'd earn in 10 lifetimes. 3 weeks running from Michael, from Brooklyn, from everything. And now she was going to die in a locked room because she'd been cleaning the wrong place at the wrong time. The door hissed again. Mabel spun, her back hitting the wall, chest heaving. A man stepped through the narrow opening just before the locks engaged with a final, terrible click. Park Ji-hoon. She recognized him instantly, though he'd never actually looked at her before. Not directly. In 3 weeks of cleaning his private wing, he'd been a ghost. A cold, beautiful ghost who moved through spaces like he owned the oxygen itself. Which he did. He stood there now, trapped with her. 6 feet of controlled violence wrapped in a black suit. His face could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and hollow shadows under his cheekbones. But his eyes... God, his eyes were completely dead. You... Mabel's voice cracked. Why did you... We're trapped. I know. Frost over gravel. The doors, they're locked. I can't... Her words tumbled over each other, her accent thickening with panic. The walls were moving closer. They had to be. Breathe. I can't breathe. There's no windows, no air. I need... Her knees buckled. She was sliding down the wall, her vision tunneling. This was how she'd die, suffocating with Seoul's most feared mafia boss watching her lose her mind. Then he was there, on his knees, right in front of her. His hands caught her shoulders, careful, like she might shatter. Look at me. Mabel's eyes found his. Up close, they weren't completely dead. Something flickered behind the ice. Something that looked almost like recognition. Only at me, he said. Nothing else exists. Just my voice. I can't. You can. In. He breathed in, slow and deliberate. His chest expanded under expensive fabric. Out. She tried. Failed. Her lungs were concrete. Again, in. His thumbs pressed gentle circles against her collarbones, grounding her. Out. Stay with me. Why? She gasped. Why did? You come in here. Something flickered across his face. I heard you screaming. So? So I couldn't. He stopped. Started again. Just breathe. Match me. They breathed together in gray silence. In. Out. In. Out. Slowly, agonizingly, her vision cleared. The walls stopped pressing. Her lungs remembered. How long? She whispered. 3 hours. The override is automatic. 3 hours, locked in here with him, with a man she'd been carefully avoiding for weeks because the staff had warned her. Don't look at him. Don't speak to him. Be invisible. Nothing invisible about this moment. I'm sorry, Mabel said, voice still shaking. I was just cleaning. I didn't know. Stop apologizing. I can't help it. It's what I do when I'm... She cut herself off. When I'm terrified. When I'm trapped. When I remember another locked room at 7 years old, thinking I'd die in the dark. Ji-hoon was watching her too closely, like he could see straight through skin and bone into all her broken pieces. You're claustrophobic, he said, not a question. Mabel nodded. Tell me something. His tone shifted, became almost gentle. Something from outside. Something with windows. What? Distract yourself. Tell me about... His eyes traced features she knew made her stand out in this city. Brooklyn. You're American. How did you hum Destiny's Child when you think no one's listening? Heat flooded her cheeks. He'd noticed? She thought she'd been so careful. Tell me about Brooklyn, he said again. So Mabel talked. About brownstones with iron stoops, summer block parties where someone's grandmother made jerk chicken and someone else's abuela brought arroz con gandules, and they all mixed together under strings of lights. The view from Brooklyn Bridge at sunset when the skyline turned gold. Ji-hoon listened. Actually listened. His hands had moved from her shoulders to loosely circle her wrists, his thumbs resting against her pulse points. She should pull away. This was too intimate, too strange. She didn't pull away. His breath caught. So quiet she almost missed it. His grip on her wrists tightened for just a second before loosening again, and something shifted in his posture, a tension that hadn't been there before. Your turn, she said, surprising herself. Tell me something. I don't. Fair is fair. I'm distracting you too. His laugh was barely a sound. From what? From whatever makes you look like you're already dead. The words escaped before she could stop them. Horror flooded through her. You didn't say things like that to Park Ji-hoon, but he didn't get angry. Something cracked in his expression, something that looked almost like relief. There's a garden, he said finally, in Bukchon, hidden behind walls most tourists never find, maple trees that turn red in fall, a stream with koi older than me. His voice dropped lower. I haven't been there in 8 years. Why not? Because I forgot how. Their eyes held. The air thickened with something Mabel couldn't name. His fingers were still on her wrists, and she was suddenly viscerally aware of how warm his hands were, how his pupils had dilated, how close they were sitting, how his gaze dropped to her mouth for just a fraction of a second. We should, Mabel started. Yeah. Neither moved. Outside, 3 hours stretched ahead like a dare. Inside Ji-hoon's chest, something impossible was happening. Something that hadn't happened in 8 months of desperate attempts and humiliating failures. His body was waking up. Because of her. Only her. When the doors finally opened 3 hours later, Mabel scrambled away from Ji-hoon like she'd been burned. His security chief stood in the entrance, professional concern barely masking curiosity. Sir, I apologize for the... Leave! Ji-hoon's voice was razors wrapped in silk. The man disappeared. Mabel was already on her feet, smoothing down her uniform with trembling hands. Her face was hot. Her pulse was everywhere. 3 hours of sitting so close to him that she could count his heartbeats through his shirt, and now the air between them felt electric and wrong and... Mabel! She froze at the sound of her name in his mouth. He'd never said it before. I should go. She didn't look at him. Couldn't. Mrs. Choi will wonder where... Look at me. It wasn't a request. Mabel's eyes dragged up to meet his, and what she saw there made her breath catch. His face was still that beautiful mask of control, but his eyes, God, his eyes were burning, hungry, like he wanted to devour her whole and didn't quite know how. Thank you, he said quietly, for the distraction. I didn't do anything. You did everything. The words came out rough, unguarded before his expression shuddered again. You're dismissed. Take the rest of the day. Mabel fled. She made it to the servants' quarters before her knees gave out, sliding down the wall in the narrow hallway where nobody could see. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She could still feel the ghost of his fingers on her wrists, the warmth of his breath when he'd leaned closer, the way his gaze had dropped to her mouth like he was thinking about... No, absolutely not. He was Park Ji-hoon, engaged, dangerous, completely off limits. But her body hadn't gotten the message. Ji-hoon stood alone in the panic room for 15 minutes after Mabel left, his back against the cold wall, his mind racing. Impossible. It was impossible. But his body didn't lie. For 3 hours, sitting close enough to smell the coconut oil in her hair, feeling her warmth seep into his cold spaces, watching her lips form words about a city he'd never seen, he'd been achingly, devastatingly hard. The kind of response he thought he'd lost forever 8 months ago. Only with her. He'd tested it obsessively during those 3 hours, thought about other women, the models Seo-yeon paraded at functions, the actress his underboss had offered last month. Nothing. His body remained stubbornly interested in exactly one person, the curvy American maid who hummed old R&B and wasn't afraid to tell him he looked dead. "This is a problem," he said to the empty room. His phone buzzed. A text from Seo-yeon. "Dinner tomorrow. Father wants to discuss timeline. Don't be late." Ji-hoon deleted it without responding. Mabel managed to avoid him for exactly 2 days. She returned to her normal schedule, arriving at 6 a.m., cleaning his spaces while he was supposedly sleeping, disappearing before he woke. Invisible again, safe again, except Mrs. Choi kept giving her strange looks, and the other staff whispered when she passed, and Mabel's hands still trembled every time she entered his bedroom to change sheets that smelled like expensive cologne and something darker underneath. On the morning of the 3rd day, she found a note on his desk in sharp, precise handwriting. "My office, 9 a.m. Her stomach dropped. This was it. He was firing her. Or worse. Maybe he'd looked into her background, found out about Michael, about why she'd really fled to Seoul. Mabel had been so careful with her fake references, but men like Park Ji-hoon had resources. They could find anything. She arrived at his office at exactly 9 a.m., her heart trying to escape through her throat. Ji-hoon sat behind a massive mahogany desk, backlit by floor-to-ceiling windows that framed Seoul's skyline. He looked like something out of a dark fairy tale, beautiful and dangerous and completely untouchable, in a black suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary. "Sit." Mabel perched on the edge of the leather chair across from him, hands folded in her lap to hide their shaking. "You'll work exclusively for me now," he said without preamble. His eyes tracked her every micro-expression. "My private spaces only, 8 a.m. to whenever I dismiss you." What? Is there a problem? Yes, every instinct screaming that this was dangerous, that the way he was looking at her, like she was a puzzle he needed to solve, meant nothing good. "No, Mr. Park. Good." He slid a paper across the desk. "Sign this. Confidentiality agreement. Non-disclosure. What you see, what you hear, stays between us." Mabel's hands were definitely shaking now as she picked up the pen. What exactly will I be seeing? Something flickered in his expression. Dark, hungry. Me. The word hung between them like a promise and a threat. Mabel signed because she needed this job, because Seoul was supposed to be far enough from Michael, because she had nowhere else to go. She told herself it had nothing to do with the way her pulse jumped when Ji-hoon's fingers brushed hers as he took the paper back. "Starting today," he said, his voice dropping lower, more intimate. "You'll organize my library. It'll take weeks, maybe months. You'll work here." He gestured to the sitting area of his office. Leather couches, a fireplace, shelves packed with books in 3 languages. "Close enough that I can what?" His eyes met hers and Mabel saw it again, that burning hunger barely leashed. "Keep you safe." Safe from what? Everything. It should have sounded insane, possessive, wrong. Instead, it sounded like a vow. By the end of the first week, Mabel understood she'd made a terrible mistake. She spent hours organizing Ji-hoon's massive collection while he worked at his desk, and the tension in that room was thick enough to choke on. She felt his eyes on her constantly, tracking her movements as she stretched to reach high shelves, following the curve of her sides when she bent to sort lower stacks. She wasn't imagining it. She couldn't be, but he never touched her. Never spoke except to request coffee or ask about specific books, the perfect distant employer, except for the way his jaw clenched when she laughed at a funny title, or how his hands would still on his keyboard when she hummed unconsciously, or the one time she turned around unexpectedly and caught him staring at her with such raw need that she dropped an entire stack of books. "Careful," he'd said, his voice rough. "Sorry, don't apologize." He'd stood, crossed the room, knelt to help her gather the scattered books. Their hands collided on the same spine. He didn't pull away. "You apologize too much. It's a bad habit. Break it." His thumb had traced across her knuckles, barely a touch, but it sent electricity straight up her arm. You don't need to make yourself smaller for anyone, especially not me. Mabel's breath had caught. What do you want from me, Mr. Park? The question hung between them like a lit match near gasoline. Ji-hoon's grip tightened on her hand for just a second, enough for her to feel the tremor running through him, the barely restrained control threatening to snap. Everything, his eyes said. Nothing, his mouth said. Just do your job. But they both knew it was a lie. The collision happened 3 weeks after Mabel started working exclusively for Ji-hoon. Mabel was in his kitchen at 11 p.m., homesickness clawing at her chest so fiercely she couldn't breathe. 3 weeks of spending every day in his office, feeling his eyes on her, the tension building until she could barely function. 3 weeks of being careful, invisible, safe. 3 weeks of pretending the air didn't catch fire every time Park Ji-hoon looked at her. She needed something familiar, something that tasted like home. The staff had gone hours ago. The penthouse was silent except for the hum of expensive appliances and her own ragged breathing as she pulled out ingredients Mrs. Choi had reluctantly ordered. Tomatoes, peppers, rice, spices that cost a fortune to import, jollof rice, her grandmother's recipe, the one thing that might make her feel less like she was drowning. She was crying before she realized it. Silent tears tracking down her face as she stirred the pot, the familiar scent wrapping around her like a ghost of everything she'd lost. Brooklyn, her tiny apartment, her best friend Kioma laughing over wine, her nursing scrubs, her whole entire life before Michael destroyed it. Earlier that day, she'd seen someone watching the estate from across the street. Probably nothing. Seoul was full of people, but something about the way he'd stood there, unmoving, had made her skin crawl. What are you doing? Mabel spun around so fast she nearly knocked the pot over. Ji-hoon stood in the kitchen doorway in black silk pajama pants and nothing else. Just miles of golden skin over lean muscle, his hair falling across his forehead, his face softer without the armor of his suits. He looked almost human, almost touchable. I'm sorry. The words tumbled out automatically. I couldn't sleep. I just needed, I'll clean everything, I promise. Stop. He moved closer, his bare feet silent on the marble. What is that? Jollof rice? Nigerian food? I miss home. Something shifted in his expression. Make enough for two. What? You heard me. He pulled out a chair at the kitchen. Island, sitting like he belonged there. Like this was normal. The Mafia boss and his maid cooking together at midnight. Mabel's hands shook as she added more rice to the pot. They ate in silence at first. Ji-hoon took a bite, his eyes widening slightly. This is probably terrible compared to delicious, he cut her off. It's delicious. Heat flooded her cheeks. My grandmother taught me. She said a woman who can't cook jollof isn't really Nigerian, no matter where she's born. Tell me about her. So Mabel talked about her grandmother's house in Lagos with its bright fabrics and crowded warmth, about summers spent learning to braid hair and argue properly and cook meals that fed 20 people from 3 ingredients, about the stories her grandmother told of warriors and trickster gods and women who bowed to no one. Ji-hoon listened like every word mattered, like she mattered. Your turn, Mabel said, emboldened by the darkness and the intimacy of shared food. Tell me something real, not the cold boss thing. Real. There's nothing real about me. That's bullshit. The curse slipped out before she could stop it. Sorry, you keep acting like you're this untouchable thing, but I've seen you in the panic room. Right now, you're just a person who's hurting. His jaw clenched. You don't know anything about me. Then tell me. Make me understand why you look like you're carrying the weight of the world and won't let anyone help. The silence stretched so long, Mabel thought he'd shut down completely. Then, 8 months ago, I watched 7 of my men die. His voice was flat, emotionless, which somehow made it worse. An ambush. They targeted my convoy. I survived. Everyone else... He stopped. I was trapped in a car for 40 minutes, listening to them die, and I couldn't do anything. Couldn't save them. Couldn't even move. Mabel's chest constricted. Jihoon. After that, something broke. My body just stopped working. I tried everything, every specialist, every treatment, nothing. His eyes met hers, and the raw vulnerability there stole her breath. Until you. What? 3 hours in that panic room. You were terrified, and all I could think about was making you feel safe. And my body... He laughed bitterly. For the first time in 8 months, I felt alive. Because of you. The confession hung between them like a live wire. Mabel should have been scared, should have run. Instead, she reached across the counter and covered his hand with hers. That's not a burden. That's healing. It's dependency. His fingers turned, threading through hers. And dependency is dangerous in my world. Maybe your world is the problem. Maybe. His thumb stroked across her palm. But it's the only world I know. They sat there in the dim kitchen, hands linked, the space between them charged with everything they couldn't say. Mabel's heart was racing. Her skin felt too tight. She should let go. Should maintain the boundaries that kept her safe. She didn't let go. Why did you really come to Seoul? Jihoon asked suddenly. Mabel's breath caught. I needed a job. Try again, and don't lie, I always know. Something about the gentleness in his voice, the darkness wrapping around them like a cocoon, made the truth spill out. She told him about Michael, the obsessive texts, the escalation, how he'd put Kioma in the hospital when she tried to intervene, how his badge made him untouchable, and Mabel had realized she had 2 choices, stay and eventually end up dead, or run. So I ran, she finished, her voice breaking. I left everything, my career, my friends, my whole life, and I ended up here, scrubbing floors for a man who what? Who makes me feel things I shouldn't feel. The air stopped moving. Jihoon stood slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. He walked around the counter until he was right in front of her, close enough that she could see the pulse hammering in his throat, smell the clean scent of his skin. What do you feel? His voice was rough velvet. Scared, confused, like I'm standing on the edge of something that'll destroy me. And like I want to jump anyway. His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. If I touch you, if I really touch you, I won't be able to stop. Do you understand that? Mabel's pulse was everywhere. I understand. I'm engaged. My world is violent. Being with me puts a target on your back. I know. Say it anyway. Say you want this. She should be smart, should protect herself, should remember every reason this was impossible. I want this, Mabel whispered. I want you. Something in Jihoon's control shattered. His mouth crashed against hers, hot and demanding and desperate. Mabel gasped, and he swallowed the sound, his hands fisting in her hair as he backed her against the counter. She kissed him back with equal desperation, weeks of tension exploding between them like a bomb. He tasted like spices and heat and everything dangerous. His body pressed against hers was solid muscle and barely leashed violence. This was insane. This was perfect. This was... His phone erupted with sound, shattering the moment. Jihoon pulled back with a curse, his breathing ragged. He grabbed the phone, his expression shifting to stone as he read the screen. What is it? Mabel asked, her lips still tingling. My underboss. There's a problem at one of our operations. I have to... He stopped, his eyes finding hers again. Don't leave. Promise me you won't leave. I'll be here. He kissed her once more, hard and possessive. We're not done, not even close. Then he was gone, leaving Mabel alone in the kitchen with swollen lips and a racing heart and the terrifying certainty that she'd just crossed a line she could never uncross. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Miss me, baby. Seoul looks nice this time of year. See you soon. Ma, the man she'd seen watching the estate. It hadn't been paranoia. Michael had found her. Chapter 4, Mabel didn't sleep that night. She sat on her narrow bed in the servants' quarters, staring at Michael's text until the words blurred. See you soon? He'd found her. Somehow, across an ocean and a continent, he'd tracked her down to Seoul, to this estate, to Ji-hoon's world. She should run, pack her bag and disappear before Michael showed up, before Ji-hoon got dragged into her mess. But where would she go? She had maybe $300 left, no passport, it was locked in Mrs. Choi's office safe. And now, after that kiss, after feeling Ji-hoon's hands in her hair and tasting his desperation, her phone buzzed again. "I know you're awake. I can see your light on. 3rd floor, east wing, right?" Mabel's blood turned to ice. She crossed to the window, hands shaking as she pulled back the curtain. Across the street, barely visible in the pre-dawn darkness, a figure stood beneath a streetlight, watching. Even from this distance, she recognized Michael's build, the way he stood with that cocky cop stance. He raised his phone, took a photo. The flash lit up his face for just a second, enough for Mabel to see his smile. She yanked the curtain closed, her heart trying to break through her ribs. Ji-hoon returned at dawn. Mabel was in his office. She'd fled there after Michael's second text, needing the illusion of safety that Ji-hoon's space provided. She'd curled up on his leather couch, trying to figure out her next move, when she heard his footsteps. He stopped in the doorway, taking in the scene. Mabel still in yesterday's clothes, her eyes red-rimmed, her phone clutched in white-knuckled hands. "What happened?" His voice was deadly calm, the kind of calm that meant someone was about to bleed. "Nothing, I just don't." He crossed the room in 3 strides, crouching in front of her. "Don't lie to me, not after last night." Last night, when he'd kissed her like she was oxygen, when she'd felt his heart racing against hers, when everything had changed. "My ex," Mabel whispered. "He found me. He's here, in Seoul." Ji-hoon's expression didn't change, but something lethal flickered behind his eyes. "Show me." She handed him her phone with trembling fingers. He read the messages in silence, his jaw ticking. Then he stood, pulled out his own phone, and made a call. Spoke in rapid Korean, too fast for Mabel to follow with her limited vocabulary. When he hung up, his face was carved from stone. "My security team is handling it. They'll find him within the hour. Ji-hoon, he's a cop. He knows how to... I don't care what he knows." Ji-hoon's voice was silk over razors. "He threatened what's mine. That's a death sentence." Mabel's breath caught. "What's yours?" "You." He said it like it was obvious, like 3 weeks of working together and 1 kiss had made her his possession. "You're under my, protection now. He won't get within 100 feet of you." It should have terrified her, this casual claim of ownership, this immediate escalation to violence. Instead, she felt something loosen in her chest. Safe. She felt safe. "I don't want you to kill him," Mabel said quietly. "I just want him gone." "Then he'll be gone." "That easy?" "For me? Yes." Ji-hoon sat beside her on the couch, close enough that their thighs touched. "I have resources your ex-boyfriend can't imagine. Money, connections, people who make problems disappear. He picked the wrong woman to stalk." By noon, it was done. Mabel watched through Ji-hoon's office windows as 2 of his security team escorted a handcuffed Michael into a black SUV. Even from this distance, she could see Michael's rage, the way he struggled and shouted. "Where are they taking him?" she asked. "Airport. There's a flight to New York in 3 hours. He'll be on it." Ji-hoon stood behind her, close enough that she could feel his heat. "I've also made it clear that if he ever contacts you again, if he even thinks about you, he'll regret it, permanently." "You didn't hurt him?" "Not yet, but I wanted to." His hand settled on her waist, possessive and gentle. "I wanted to destroy him for making you afraid." Mabel turned in his arms, tilting her head back to meet his eyes. "Why? Why do you care this much?" "Because I can't stop." The confession was raw, unguarded. "Since that panic room, since you, I can't stop thinking about you, wanting you, needing you close." His thumb traced her jawline. "It's obsession. I know that. I should let you go before I consume you completely." "And if I don't want to be let go?" His eyes darkened. "Then you're in trouble, Mabel Okonkwo, because I don't do anything halfway." She should be smart, should remember he was engaged, dangerous, living in a world that would chew her up. Instead, she rose on her toes and kissed him. Ji-hoon made a rough sound in his throat, his arms banding around her waist as he deepened the kiss. It was different from last night, slower, more deliberate, like he was memorizing the taste of her, like he had all the time in the world to explore her mouth. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ji-hoon rested his forehead against hers. "I'm ending my engagement," he said. Mabel's heart stuttered. "What?" "I'm ending it. I don't care about the alliance anymore. I don't care about my father's plans or the political benefits." His hands framed her face. "I only care about this, about you." "Ji-hoon, that's insane. Your whole organization will adapt." His smile was sharp, dangerous. "Let me worry about my world. You just worry about whether you can handle being mine." "Yours? Completely, exclusively, mine." Each word was punctuated with a soft kiss. "Say yes." Mabel knew she should say no, should protect herself, should remember every reason this was impossible. "Yes," she whispered instead. The universe had other plans. That evening, as Mabel was leaving Ji-hoon's office, she ran into a woman in the hallway, literally ran into her, collided hard enough that they both stumbled. "I'm so sorry, I wasn't—" Mabel started. Then she looked up. The woman was stunning. Porcelain skin, razor-sharp cheekbones, wearing a cream Chanel suit that screamed old money. Her eyes were cold as winter as they traveled over Mabel, taking in her maid's uniform, her curves, her obvious foreignness. "You must be the help," the woman said in perfect icy English. "I'm Han Seo-yeon, Ji-hoon's fiancé." The word hit like a physical blow. Seo-yeon's smile was a blade. "Has he told you about me? About our wedding in 3 months? About how our families have been planning this alliance for years?" She stepped closer, invading Mabel's space. "Or has he been too busy playing games with the staff?" Mabel's throat closed. 3 months. The wedding was in 3 months. "I see." Seo-yeon's smile widened at whatever she saw in Mabel's face. "He hasn't told you anything. How typical." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "A word of advice, sweetheart. Park Ji-hoon doesn't break engagements. He doesn't choose love over power. Whatever he's promised you, it's a lie. And when he's done playing, you'll be the one who disappears." Then she swept past, leaving Mabel frozen in the hallway. 3 months. The wedding was in 3 months, and Ji-hoon had never mentioned it. If someone said, "You're mine," after saving you from danger, would that be romantic or a red flag? Comment, red flag or romantic. I need to know what y'all think. Mabel didn't confront Ji-hoon immediately. She went back to the servants' quarters, stripped off her uniform with shaking hands, and stood under scalding water until her skin turned red. 3 months. The wedding was in 3 months, and Ji-hoon had kissed her, claimed her, promised to end his engagement, but clearly hadn't told his fiancé anything. Seo-yeon's words circled in her head like vultures. He doesn't choose love over power. Whatever he's promised you, it's a lie. Mabel had been a fool, again. Just like with Michael, she'd ignored every red flag because a man made her feel wanted, special, safe. When had she become this person? She dressed in jeans and a sweater, her own clothes, not the uniform, and stared at her reflection. The woman looking back had tear-swollen eyes and kiss-bruised lips and the haunted expression of someone who just realized they were in way over their head. Her phone buzzed. "Ji-hoon, where are you? Come back to my office." Mabel turned off her phone. She made it 6 hours before he found her. Mabel was in the estate's garden, a small, forgotten corner behind the kitchen where the staff sometimes smoked on breaks. It was nearly midnight, frost forming on the stone bench where she sat, but she couldn't bring herself to go inside. Inside meant facing him, meant demanding answers she was terrified to hear. "You're avoiding me." Mabel didn't turn around. She'd felt him approach. The air always changed when Ji-hoon was near, charged with that electric tension that made her skin prickle. "I met your fiancé today," she said to the darkness. Silence. Then his footsteps crunched on gravel as he moved closer. What did she say? That your wedding is in 3 months, that your families have been planning it for years, that I'm just—" Her voice cracked. "That I'm just something you're playing with until you get bored." "Mabel, is it true?" She finally turned to look at him. He stood 3 feet away in his shirt sleeves, despite the cold, his face carved in shadow and moonlight, beautiful and remote, and suddenly feeling like a stranger. "The wedding. 3 months. Is it true?" "Yes." The word was a knife between her ribs. "But I told you," Ji-hoon continued, his voice tight with frustration. "I'm ending it. I just need time to—" "Time to what?" Mabel stood, anger finally cutting through the hurt. "Time to figure out how to break it to her gently? Time to make sure you don't lose your precious alliance? Or time to keep me as your side piece until you decide what's more important, me or your empire?" His jaw clenched. "It's not that simple." "It really is, though." She laughed, the sound bitter. "Either you choose me or you don't. Either I matter or I'm just convenient." "Convenient?" Ji-hoon closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands gripping her arms. "You think any of this is convenient? You've destroyed me, Mabel. Before you, I was dead inside, literally dead. And then you crashed into my life, and suddenly, I can feel again. I can breathe again. Stop." Mabel tried to pull away, but he held firm. "Don't make this about your condition. I'm not responsible for fixing you." "I know that." His voice dropped, became almost gentle. "You think I don't know that? You're not a cure, Mabel. You're a person. A person I'm falling for so hard I can't see straight." Her breath caught. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I've never meant anything more in my life." His forehead dropped to hers. "But breaking my engagement isn't just about telling Seo-yeon we're done. Her father is the justice minister. Our alliance protects half my operations from prosecution. Ending it without a strategy means risking everything I've built. So your empire matters more than I do." "No." His hand slid up to frame her face. "You matter more. That's the problem. You matter so much that I need to be smart about this. I need to secure our future before I blow up my present." "Our future?" Mabel's eyes searched his. "What future? I'm a maid, Ji-hoon. You're a mafia boss engaged to a minister's daughter. We don't get a future." "We do if I make one." His thumb traced her lower lip. "Give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks to arrange things, to find leverage, to make it safe for both of us. Then I'll end it publicly. I'll choose you in front of everyone." It was everything she wanted to hear, and every red flag she'd ever ignored. "I need air," Mabel whispered, pulling away from him. "I need to think." "Don't think. Just trust me." That's what Michael used to say. The words escaped before she could stop them. "Trust me, Mabel. I just need to know where you are. I'm protecting you." Ji-hoon's expression darkened. "I am nothing like him." "Aren't you? You're both asking me to wait in the shadows while you figure out your complicated life. The difference is I actually will choose you." His voice was steel wrapped in silk. "I will burn down everything to keep you, but I need you to give me time to do it smart instead of reckless." Mabel wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. 2 weeks, she said finally. "But if you're lying to me, if this is just—" "I'm not lying." He pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her like chains, or safety. She couldn't tell anymore. 2 weeks, then you'll see, the whole world will see. The next morning, everything changed. Mabel was in Ji-hoon's office reorganizing his files like nothing had happened when his underboss, Kim Tae-yang, arrived unannounced. He was everything Ji-hoon wasn't. Flashy gold watch, too white smile, eyes that cataloged everything like he was calculating its worth. Well, well. Tae-yang's gaze traveled over Mabel with obvious appreciation. "You're the new girl everyone's talking about. Mabel, right?" "Sir." Mabel kept her tone neutral, professional. "Beautiful name for a beautiful woman." He moved closer, invading her space. "You know, if you ever get tired of filing papers, I could use someone with your assets in my club. Better pay, better hours, more appreciative boss." Mabel's skin crawled. "I'm fine where I am, thank you." "Are you sure?" His hand reached out to touch her arm. Touch her and lose the hand. Ji-hoon stood in the doorway, and the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. His face was a mask of cold fury, his eyes promising violence. Tae-yang pulled back, laughing. "Relax, boss. Just being friendly. She's not for you." Ji-hoon's voice was lethal. "She's off limits, completely. Are we clear?" Something flickered in Tae-yang's eyes. Calculation, interest, crystal clear. "Didn't know you were so protective of the help." After Tae-yang left, Mabel stared at Ji-hoon. "That was a mistake." "What was?" "Showing him I matter to you. Now he knows you have a weakness." Ji-hoon crossed to her, tilted her chin up. "You're not my weakness. You're my reason to be ruthless. There's a difference." But as he kissed her, slow and claiming and desperate, Mabel couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just become a target in a war she didn't understand. And across Seoul, in a luxury office, Tae-young made a phone call. "Miss Han, we've never met, but we have a common problem. Park Ji-hoon's little obsession with his African maid. I have a proposal that benefits us both." 5 days after Ji-hoon's "she's mine" moment with Tae-young, everything shifted between them. The 2 weeks Ji-hoon promised turned into a ticking bomb. Mabel spent her days in his office, cataloging books and pretending her world wasn't spinning out of control. The nights became theirs, stolen hours after the staff left when tension they'd been fighting finally snapped. It happened gradually, then all at once. Lingering touches that turned into kisses, kisses that turned desperate, desperate that turned into them, tangled together, learning every inch of each other in the dark. They didn't talk about Seoyeon, didn't talk about the wedding that was now 10 weeks away instead of 12, didn't talk about how every touch felt like borrowed time. They just held each other and pretended that would be enough. It wasn't. "You're thinking too loud," Ji-hoon murmured against her hair one night. They were tangled together on his bed, the city lights of Seoul painting shadows across his ceiling. His hand traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. "I'm thinking you've had 14 days to end your engagement, and you haven't done it." His hand stilled. "I'm working on it." "Are you?" Mabel pulled back to look at him. "Or are you realizing that choosing me means giving up too much?" "Mabel, because I get it. I do. Your whole life is built on that alliance. And I'm just... Don't." Ji-hoon rolled over her, caging her with his arms, his eyes fierce in the darkness. "Don't diminish what you are to me. You're not just anything." "Then prove it." The words came out sharper than she intended. "Stop telling me what I mean to you and show me. End it. Choose me. Or let me go before I fall so deep I can't climb out." Something cracked in his expression. "You think you're the only one falling?" "Mabel, I'm already gone. I'm so far gone for you that I can't remember what my life felt like before you walked into it." He kissed her then, desperate, claiming like he could brand her as his through sheer will. And Mabel kissed him back even though she knew better, even though she knew this couldn't end well, even though she was terrified of how much she loved him. The next morning, everything shattered. Mabel woke alone in Ji-hoon's bed. Not unusual. He always left before dawn to maintain appearances. But something felt wrong. The air was too quiet, too still. She dressed quickly and went to find him. The penthouse was chaos. Security everywhere. Staff whispering in corners. Mrs. Choi's face was pale as she hurried past, refusing to meet Mabel's eyes. "What's happening?" Mabel caught one of the younger maids. "Where's Mr. Park?" "Emergency meeting. His father called it. Something about..." The girl's eyes darted nervously. "About family honor and the wedding." Mabel's stomach dropped. She shouldn't go. Should stay in her place like good staff. Instead, she followed the trail of suited security men to Ji-hoon's formal conference room. The doors were closed, but voices carried through, raised, angry, speaking rapid Korean she could barely follow. Then one phrase cut through clear as glass. "The African woman." Mabel pressed closer to the door. "Disgrace to this family." An older man's voice, harsh with fury. Your engagement announcement is in 2 days. The merger is finalized, and you're sleeping with the help? Father. Ji-hoon's voice strained. Don't father me. Minister Han just showed me photographs. You and that woman all over each other. Do you have any idea what this does to our alliance? To our reputation? I don't care about... You will care when Han pulls his protection and half our operations get raided. The old man's voice cracked like a whip. You will care when Taeyang uses this weakness to challenge your leadership. You will care when I disown you for throwing away everything for a piece of... The sound of something crashing. Then Ji-hoon's voice, deadly quiet. Finish that sentence, I dare you. Silence, heavy and terrible. 2 days, his father said finally. You have 2 days to end whatever this is and marry Seo-yeon, or I will remove you as heir and install Taeyang in your place. Choose your empire or your infatuation. Mabel was back in the servants' quarters packing her bag when Ji-hoon found her. What are you doing? He looked wrecked, tie loose, hair disheveled, eyes haunted. Leaving before you have to choose. Mabel, don't... I heard, Ji-hoon. She didn't look at him, couldn't. I heard your father, the photographs, the ultimatum, and I'm not going to be the reason you lose everything. You heard wrong then. He crossed the room, stilling her hands. Because you're not the reason I'd lose anything. You're the only thing worth keeping. Stop. Tears burned her eyes. Stop saying beautiful things that don't change reality. Your father's right. I'm a liability. A distraction. I don't fit in your world and I never will. Then I'll burn my world down. That's not fair. Mabel finally looked at him, and the love in his eyes nearly destroyed her. You can't ask me to let you sacrifice everything for me. I can't carry that weight. So you're just going to leave? Run again? The accusation stung. I'm trying to save us both. By destroying us? Ji-hoon pulled her against him, his forehead dropping to hers. I love you. Do you understand that? I'm in love with you, Mabel Okonkwo. Not infatuated, not obsessed, in love, and I don't care what it costs. The confession broke something in her chest. I love you too. That's why I have to go. No. His arms tightened around her. No, I'll fix this. I'll find a way to... His phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again and again. Finally, cursing, he answered. What? His face went white as he listened. I'm on my way. He hung up, his hands shaking. There's been an accident. Seo-yeon. Her car went off a bridge. She's at Seoul General. Critical condition. Mabel's blood turned to ice. Oh my God. I have to go. Her father. The optics, if I don't... He stopped, looked at her. Don't leave, please. Just give me a few hours to go. I'll be here. He kissed her once, hard and desperate. Then he was gone. Mabel stood alone in her tiny room, Ji-hoon's words echoing in her head. I love you. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Accidents happen when people don't know their place. This is your only warning. Leave Seoul, or the next accident won't be Seo-yeon's. It'll be yours. A friend. Mabel's hands trembled as she stared at the message. Someone had tried to kill Seo-yeon, and now they were threatening her. The question was, who? And how far would they go to keep Ji-hoon under control? Mabel didn't tell Ji-hoon about the threat. She should have. But when he returned from the hospital 18 hours later, exhausted and hollow-eyed, she couldn't add to his burden. Seo-yeon was alive, but barely. Broken spine, internal bleeding, fighting for every breath. The doctors said it was a miracle she'd survived at all. Her father thinks it was an attempt on my life, Ji-hoon said, collapsing onto his office couch. Mabel sat beside him, close but not touching. That someone tampered with her car thinking I'd be driving it. We were supposed to have dinner that night. I canceled last minute. Mabel's stomach churned. To be with me. Don't. His hand found hers. Don't make this your fault. But wasn't it? If Ji-hoon hadn't been obsessed with her, hadn't been trying to end his engagement, Seo-yeon would be fine. Some enemy, Taeyang maybe, or one of the rival organizations, had struck at Ji-hoon through his fiancé, and Mabel was next. Leave Seoul, or the next accident won't be Seo Yeon's. What happens now? Mabel asked quietly. Now? Ji-hoon's laugh was bitter. Now I'm trapped. Her father's demanding I stay by her side, prove my commitment. The wedding's postponed indefinitely, but breaking the engagement while she's fighting for her life? He dragged his free hand through his hair. I'd look like a monster. My father would have the excuse he needs to remove me. Tae Yang would take over within a week. So we're done. Mabel's voice came out flat, empty. No. Ji-hoon turned to her, his eyes fierce despite the exhaustion. We're just delayed. Once she's stable, once the investigation is over. Ji-hoon, stop. Mabel pulled her hand away. We both know what this means. You can't leave her now, and I can't keep being your secret while she's... Her voice broke. While she's broken in a hospital bed because someone wanted to hurt you through her. Mabel, I'm leaving Seoul. The decision solidified as she spoke it. Not because of the threat, because it's destroying everyone around us. Your organization, your family, Seo Yeon. I won't be responsible for more people getting hurt. Ji-hoon stood, his face going pale. You're running again. I'm surviving. There's a difference. Is there? His voice turned sharp, cruel. Or are you just looking for an excuse to leave before things get too real? The accusation hit like a slap. Too real, Ji-hoon, a woman is in critical condition because of us. How much more real does it need to get? She's in critical condition because someone in my organization is trying to destabilize my leadership? Ji-hoon's control finally cracked. This isn't about you, Mabel. It's about power. It's about Tae Yang or my father or someone else using any weakness they can find. If it wasn't Seo Yeon, it would have been something else. But it was her, and I'm next. Mabel's voice dropped to a whisper. I got a text after you left for the hospital. Someone threatened me, told me to leave or I'd be the next accident. The color drained from Ji-hoon's face. Why didn't you tell me? Because you had enough to deal with. Show me, now. Mabel pulled out her phone with shaking hands, showed him the message. She watched his expression shift from shock to cold, calculated fury, the Mafia boss fully emerging. I'm moving you to a safe house, he said, already dialing. Full security detail, no one gets within. No. Mabel locked her phone. I'm leaving. Today, I'll go back to New York, figure something out. Absolutely not. Ji-hoon grabbed her shoulders. You think you're safer there. Whoever sent this has resources. They found you in Seoul. They'll find... you in New York. At least here I can protect you. You can't even protect your fiancé. The words hung in the air like poison. Ji-hoon's hands dropped. His face went blank, that terrible mask he wore when something cut too deep. You're right. I couldn't protect her. I can't protect anyone. I'm just... He stopped, his jaw working. I'm just a man who destroys everything he touches. Mabel's anger crumbled. Ji-hoon, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. His smile was bitter. And you're right. Being with me is a death sentence. So go. Run back to New York. Run anywhere. Just... His voice cracked. Just stay alive. That's all I care about anymore. He turned to leave. I'm pregnant. The words exploded out of Mabel before she could stop them. She hadn't planned to tell him like this. Hadn't even been completely sure until yesterday when she'd taken 3 tests in a hospital bathroom while he sat vigil with Seo Yeon. But watching him walk away, watching him break, Ji-hoon froze in the doorway, his back rigid. What? I'm pregnant. About 4 weeks, maybe. I just found out yesterday. Mabel's hand moved to her still flat stomach. I was going to wait, but then everything... She stopped, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I know the timing is terrible. I know this complicates everything, but I thought you should know before I... Ji-hoon was across the room in 3 strides, dropping to his knees in front of her. His hands framed her face, his eyes searching hers with desperate intensity. You're pregnant, with my child. Yes. And you were going to leave without telling me? I thought it would be easier for you if you didn't know. Easier. He laughed, the sound broken and raw. Mabel, nothing about this is easy. Nothing about us has ever been easy. But this... His hand moved to cover hers on her stomach. "This changes everything. It doesn't change that someone wants me dead. No, it means I'll burn down anyone who even thinks about touching you." His voice dropped to something dark and absolute. "You're carrying my child, my heir. That makes you untouchable. Whoever sent that threat just signed their own death warrant." The next 72 hours became a war. Ji-hoon installed Mabel in his penthouse's panic room, the same room where this had all started. Ironic. He brought in his most trusted security team, ran background checks on everyone who'd been near Seo-yeon's car, and started pulling threads in his organization. Mabel watched it all from her reinforced cage, one hand always on her stomach, terror and hope warring in her chest. Through the security monitors, she saw Ji-hoon transform into someone she barely recognized, cold, ruthless, hunting his enemies with surgical precision. On the third day, he came to her with exhaustion carved into every line of his face. "It was Tae-yang," he said. "He hired someone to tamper with Seo-yeon's car. He sent you the threat. My father's... People have him now. He's confessing everything." Mabel's breath caught. "What happens to him?" "That's not your concern." Ji-hoon's voice was flat. "He won't hurt anyone again. That's all you need to know." She should ask more. Should care about the violence implicit in his words. Instead, she just felt exhausted. "What about Seo-yeon?" "Stable. Awake. Her father's finally letting me see her tomorrow." Ji-hoon sat beside Mabel, pulled her against his chest. "I'm telling her everything. About us. About the baby. I'm ending the engagement properly. Ji-hoon, you can't, not while she's..." "I can. I will." He kissed her forehead. "I've already lost too much time being a coward. I'm not losing you, too." Mabel wanted to believe him, wanted to believe this could actually work, but something felt wrong. Tae-yang was ambitious, yes, ruthless, but orchestrating an assassination attempt on Seo-yeon, it felt too bold, too reckless for a man who'd spent years carefully positioning himself. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Tae-yang was just the beginning. "If you think Ji-hoon can protect you, you're wrong. Leave now or watch everyone you love die." Your only warning. Someone else was playing this game, and they were just getting started. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and broken promises. Ji-hoon stood outside Seo-yeon's private room, his hand on the door handle, trying to remember how to breathe. Mabel was back at the penthouse under armed guard, 4 weeks pregnant with his child, and he was about to destroy the alliance that had kept his organization safe for 3 years. He pushed open the door. Seo-yeon lay propped against white pillows, her face pale but composed. Tubes and monitors surrounded her like a mechanical forest. When she saw him, something flickered in her eyes. Not love, never love, but something harder. Calculation. "Ji-hoon." Her voice was steady despite everything. "Come to check if I'm dying." "Don't." He pulled a chair beside her bed. "I'm sorry this happened to you." "Are you?" Her smile was sharp. "Or are you sorry you got caught with your maid before I conveniently ended up in a hospital bed?" So she knew. Of course she knew. "I never meant to hurt you," Ji-hoon said quietly. Liar. "But there was no heat in it. You meant to hurt me the moment you decided I mattered less than your obsession with that woman." She shifted, wincing. "My father showed me the photos. You look at her like she's oxygen. You've never looked at me like that. Not once in 3 years. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. It's beneath you." Seo-yeon's eyes, cold, intelligent, ruthless, fixed on his. "Let me guess. You're here to end our engagement. Very gallant, breaking up with the crippled woman." "You're not crippled. The doctors said I'll walk again, eventually, with physical therapy, with time." Her laugh was bitter. "Time I don't have, apparently, because my fiancé has gotten his maid pregnant and suddenly developed a conscience." Ji-hoon's breath caught. "How did you... I have resources too. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate the woman stealing my future?" Seo-yeon's expression hardened. 4 weeks pregnant. Congratulations, you work fast." The silence stretched between them like a chasm. "I thought I could reach you once," Seo-yeon said suddenly. When our fathers first arranged this, you were beautiful and emotionally closed off, and I thought maybe we could make it real." She laughed again. "But you never let anyone in. You just stayed cold." Seo-yeon, let me finish. Her voice cracked slightly. Then your African maid walked into your life and suddenly you weren't cold anymore. Suddenly you could feel again. Do you have any idea how that felt? Watching you come alive for someone else while I was right there, trying so hard to matter? Guilt crashed through Ji-hoon's chest. "I'm sorry. Truly. You deserved better than this." "I deserve a lot of things. A fiancé who wasn't obsessed with another woman, a wedding that wasn't a political transaction, a life where I wasn't almost murdered because someone wanted to hurt you." She met his eyes. "But we don't get what we deserve, do we? We get what we fight for." "What do you want?" Ji-hoon asked quietly. "Name it. Anything." "I want you to be honest for once." Seo-yeon leaned forward slightly. "Do you love her?" "Yes." "Enough to lose everything?" "Yes." She studied him for a long moment. Then, impossibly, she smiled. "Then go, be with her, raise your baby. Be happy, Ji-hoon. God knows one of us should be." "Your father will be furious. Will pull his political protection. Will probably try to destroy you." Seo-yeon shrugged. "But that's not my problem anymore. I'm releasing you from our engagement, effective immediately." Ji-hoon stared at her. "Why?" "Because someone tried to kill me to get to you. Because I'm tired of being a pawn in everyone else's game. Because—" her voice softened. "Because you're right. We both deserve better than this. And maybe letting you go is how I finally get it." Ji-hoon returned to the penthouse as twilight painted Seoul in shades of purple and gold. Mabel was in his office, safe behind armed guards, organizing books like nothing had changed. When she saw him, her face transformed. "Well?" she asked, barely breathing. "It's over." She ended it. "We're free." He crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. "We're actually free, Mabel." She burst into tears against his chest. "I can't believe after everything." "Believe it." He tilted her face up, kissed her softly. "Nothing standing between us now. Just you, me, and our baby." For one perfect moment, they stood together as dusk deepened outside the windows, holding each other like they could stop the world from spinning. Then the penthouse lights cut out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red. His security team's radios erupted with static and shouting. And through the windows, Ji-hoon saw them. Black SUVs surrounding the building, dozens of them, blocking every exit. His head of security burst through the door, blood streaming from a cut on his temple. "Sir, we have a situation. It's not Tae-young. He was working for someone else. Someone who just breached our perimeter with military-grade equipment." Ji-hoon's blood ran cold. "Who?" "We don't know, but they're asking for Mabel specifically. They said—" The man's face went pale. "They said to tell her that Michael sends his regards and that he's brought friends." Mabel's face drained of color. "No, that's impossible. You deported him. You made sure—" "He came back." Ji-hoon pulled her behind him, his gun already drawn, and this time he brought an army. His phone buzzed, a video message. Ji-hoon opened it with shaking hands. Michael's face filled the screen, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood men in tactical gear, weapons drawn, and beside him, smiling coldly, was Ji-hoon's own father, Park Dae-jung. "Did not see that coming, did you? Keep watching, it gets worse." "Surprised?" Michael's voice was sickeningly cheerful. "Turns out your daddy and I want the same thing, Ji-hoon. You broken, her gone, and that bastard child you put in her, never born." Park Dae-jung stepped forward, his expression carved from stone. "You had your chance to do this the right way, son. Marry Seo-yeon, secure our future. Instead, you chose a foreign plaything and threw away everything I built." "So we made a deal," Michael continued. "He gets his obedient heir back. I get Mabel. And if you try to stop us—" The camera panned to show Dr. Park Yuna, bound and gagged, a gun to her head. "Your sister dies first, then Mabel. Then you get to live with knowing you destroyed everyone you love." The video cut off. Mabel was shaking in Ji-hoon's arms. "Your father, he's working with Michael. I know." Ji-hoon's voice was dead calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence, and they just made the biggest mistake of their lives. "We're trapped. They have your sister. They don't have you yet." Ji-hoon pulled her toward the panic room, the only place in the penthouse they couldn't breach. "And as long as you're alive, as long as our baby is alive, I still have something to fight for." His phone buzzed again. A text. "You have 10 minutes to bring her down, or Yuna dies. Your choice, son. Family or the plaything. Father." Ji-hoon looked at Mabel, pregnant with his child, trusting him to keep her safe, and made his decision. "Lock yourself in the panic room. Don't come out for anyone but me. Do you understand? What are you going to do?" "What I should have done months ago." His smile was cold and terrible. "Burn it all down." He kissed her once, hard, desperate, like it might be the last time, and then he was gone, leaving Mabel alone in the panic room as gunfire erupted in the penthouse above. Through the security monitors, she watched Ji-hoon transform into something terrifying and beautiful. The Mafia boss fully unleashed, fighting his way through his father's men with brutal efficiency. But there were too many. Even as he fought, she could see him being overwhelmed. Mabel's hand went to her stomach, to the tiny life growing inside her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Your choice, Mabel. Come out and surrender, and I'll let him live. Stay hidden and watch the father of your child die on camera. You have 5 minutes." Michael. The monitors showed Michael dragging a bloodied, unconscious Ji-hoon into view of the cameras. Mabel stared at the screen, her heart shattering, knowing that whatever choice she made would destroy them both. Be honest. If you had to choose between saving the man you love or protecting your unborn baby, what would you do? Comment. Save him or protect baby? This is the hardest question ever. Will Mabel sacrifice herself to save Ji-hoon? Can they survive when family becomes the enemy? What will happen to their unborn child? Part 2 coming soon. Hit that subscribe button so you'll be the first to know when it drops. See ya.